What is up, and welcome back to another episode of Blood and Beer, the show where we talk blood sport and we drink beer. I'm your host, Matt, and as always, we got some MMA to talk, we got some beer to drink. Today's episode, we're going to be breaking down the entire second half of the PFL 2024 season, what you need to know for the playoffs coming up, the second half of the season matchups. We're going to get into all of that. As we have for the past couple episodes, we're sipping on some Bud Light, official drink of the UFC, baby. Let's go. Alright, so PFL, a lot different than a lot of other MMA promotions, landscapes, everything. PFL is set up more like the NFL as far as the season goes. You have a regular season where you earn points for your victories and finishes, and then the top four fighters in each division, each weight class, they move on to the playoffs at the end of the season. Playoffs, top four, like I said, it's a tournament, just first four. Winners fight each other. The winner of that championship gets $1 million. Now, the scoring system that they have in place to get into the playoffs for the PFL, you get 3 points for a victory no matter what. And then if you get a first round stoppage, you get a bonus 3 points. Second round stoppage is a bonus 2. Third round stoppage, you get a bonus 1. So at the end of the season, top four guys move on. If there's a tie, then they look at who had the faster finishes, or the fastest finish on those ties. So that's how they determine their playoff bracket and everything. They have 10 fighters in each division in the regular season, and I want to say 5 or 6 different weight classes that they do. We're going to break them all down though for the most part today, kicking things off with first let's get into a couple more information about it before we kick things off. PFL, I always criticized them in the past because they had a weaker roster. They'd have some beasts on there that just could, cakewalk their way to the finals because they don't have a lot of competition. This past year, at late 2023, PFL acquired Bellator to create PFLator. Not really what it's called, but it really bolstered their division. They got a lot more talent. A lot of the Bellator fighters, they immediately joined that division, and some of them have been tearing up, some of them haven't been, but it's been a lot of fun. It's definitely put a lot more parity in the PFL. Another rule the PFL has, because it's such quick turnaround, if you win it all, you have 4 fights in 8 months. So no elbows to prevent any bleeding, massive cuts that would just keep someone out for a couple months. So with that being said, let's jump into the first weight class we're going to be breaking down today. The second half of the season for the featherweight division, PFL. The standings currently, we have Brandon Loughnane in first with 6 points, Gabriel Braga in second with 6 points, and then rounding out the top 5, we have Tamir Kizariv, Adam Borix, and Kai Kamaka. All have 3 points. So, Brandon Loughnane, this dude's a beast. He's a 2022 PFL champion. He's been to the finals before that. He's got great striking, real crisp. He gets a lot of knockouts, and he's got this season figured out. He's on top. He's going to be taking on Justin Gonzalez, who's coming off of a round 2 knockout against Gabriel Braga, guy in second place. So that's a pretty easy matchup for Loughnane with him being a striker. Gonzalez is probably going to be a little chinny, having been knocked out just 2 months ago. So he's got a pretty easy shot of getting the number 1 seed if he can get a finish there. The number 2 guy, Gabriel Braga, he's got a much tougher matchup. He's taking on former featherweight runner-up Bubba Jenkins, who lost to Brendan Loughnane in the 2022 finals. Bubba Jenkins is tough. This dude's got great wrestling. His striking's really coming along. It's going to be a lot tougher matchup for Gabriel Braga to take out Bubba Jenkins or get a finish to leapfrog Brendan Loughnane and get that number 1 spot. So they didn't do him any favors there. But if he can get past him, even with just a win, he should secure himself a spot in the finals as long as the other 3 guys don't get first round knockouts faster than his first round, or his first part of the season knockout that he had. So I really think the tournament, though, it's Loughnane and Braga. That's who it's going to be in the finals, I'm thinking. And I think Loughnane got it. The second part of the featherweights, that kicks off on June 28th. And then we have the lightweight division. This one's a lot of fun too. You got some Bellator guys like Patricky Pitbull Fieri, Mads Burnell, Brent Primus in it. PFL fan favorite, former UFC fighter Clay Collard. He's coming in off a second-round knockout over Patricky Pitbull. And then the number one guy in the division right now, Michael Dufort, the Canadian badass. He's coming off a round 2 submission over Bellator fighter Mads Burnell. So right now the standings, as we stand right now, we got Dufort in first place with 5 points, Clay Collard in second with 5 points, Brent Primus in third with 5 points, and then Elvin Espinoza rounding out the top 4 with 4 points. This division's wide open. A first-round knockout could get someone in that has 0 points right now. In the second part of the season, who do we got? Clay Collard taking on. Oh shit, I don't have it here. Should have wrote that down. Oh, he's taking on Mads Burnell, and like I said, round 1 knockout, round 1 submission for Burnell. That puts him right back in the playoffs. Could take Collard out. It'll be interesting to see, but. Yeah, that's 6/21 is when those matchups are going to be, and I'm thinking Michael Dufort, the Canadian badass, he's got everything it takes to win this. He's really well-rounded, good striking, good wrestling, doesn't have any major holes in his game, and he doesn't take a ton of risks to lose a fluky matchup or anything like that. Clay Collard, great striker, his wrestling could use some work. Mads Burnell, he's a good wrestler, striking could use some work, and he does get submitted. Brent Primus is really well-rounded, but we've seen him get kind of dominated in Bellator, so we'll have to see how it plays out, but I really like Michael Dufort to win this, and I think he could just run the tables on that tournament. And then welterweight's currently being dominated by a bunch of fighters you and I have never heard of. It's kind of dead in the water right now. Last year, Sabadou Sai won it. I think the year before, Sabadou Sai won it as well. He moved up to light heavyweight, so a 35-pound jump there. But when he moved up, there was really no one left at 170 to make it interesting. And that really used to be their marquee division with Ray Cooper, Magomed. I forget which Magomed it was, but one of them. Him and Ray Cooper really had a good trilogy there. But now welterweight's kind of dead in PFL. Nothing much to talk about, so we'll just skip over that. And then the light heavyweight division, I'd say this might be their marquee division right now. It's so entertaining. You've got just finishes out the ass in this division. The top 5 guys all got first-round knockouts, so 6 points for all of them. But the standings in the light heavyweight division right now, we have number 1, Rob Wilkinson, 6. 2, Josh Silveira, 6. 3, Dovidzhan Yagshimuradov, 6. Impa Kasaganai, 6. And Antonios Carlos Jr., 6. So 3 of those guys are former PFL champions. I want to say 3 of them are former UFC fighters. But with Kasanganay, Antonio Carlos Jr., and Rob Wilkinson, all former PFL champions in their own right. Now, Wilkinson is going to be taking on Josh Silveira in the second round, so one of those guys is going to move on. One isn't, just based on they can't both get points. And then Impa Kasanganay, he's got a pretty favorable matchup. He's taking on Jacob Neto. Guy's 4-2, just not real experienced. Kasanganay, he's looked amazing in PFL at the 205 division. And Antonios Carlos Jr., he's taking on Alex Polizzi. Tough fighter, but I think he'll make quick work of him as well, because Antonio Carlos Jr. is a badass. Bigfoot, shoeface, dude's a beast. But that, like I said, that division's wide open. 5 first-round finishes there, and it could, you never know. I'd like to see Kasanganay repeat, get the 2 in a row, but anything could happen. It's like the heavyweight division almost. Everybody's got knockout power there. And then speaking of the heavyweight division, this has been a little takeover by Bellator. They're getting a couple people in here, but they already did their first part of the second half of the season, or they already did their second half of the season. They did that last night. We saw Denis Goltsov. He got the quick finish. He's the number 1 seed. He's going to be taking on Tim Johnson, who only had 1 fight but was able to get a first-round knockout. He got kicked in the nuts, dropped, but as he was getting kicked in the nuts, he landed a massive shot that dropped his opponent as well. He was able to recover enough to get on top and finish his opponent. So he was able to just squeak by, get that 4th slot over Daniel James. That'll be a fun fight. Denis Goltsov, he's been in the PFL tournament, the playoff portion of it, 5 or 6 times, never won it. Always the bridesmaid, never the bride. He's looking to finish the story tonight. Cody Rhodes, baby. Or not tonight, but this year. And then the other matchup that we're going to have is Oleg Popov taking on former Bellator interim champion Valentin Moldavsky. Moldavsky just lost his second fight in the last night to Linton Vassell, but since he got a first-round finish in his first fight, he was able to squeak by as the number 3 seed. So it's going to be nuts. 2 Bellator guys. We got Tim Johnson, Valentin Moldavsky. If you asked me at the beginning of this season what guys from Bellator are going to get through, Tim Johnson would have never came to mind. He's a great fighter, I think he's getting kind of old. I thought of him as a journeyman. He's still got it, though, especially over in PFL. So it's gonna be fun, and he's got a lot of momentum. He went viral for the nut kick knockout, so I can't wait for that playoff. Heavyweights are always a blast. And then finally, the women's flyweight division. Their regular season wrapped up last night as well. It's pretty interesting. The number 1 fighter, Dakota Dacheva, she's taking on Jenna Bishop. Dacheva's had some criticism because she's been given such an easy route to the playoffs. She's been fed some scrubs, people that just aren't on her level. But she is coming off 3 straight first-round finishes. She won PFL Europe last year. She's got great striking. She just got a first-round finish last night. Just destroyed the girl she was fighting. I forget her name now. But she's taking on Jenna Bishop, who couldn't be further from the opposite of her, honestly. This girl's got great ground game. Stand-up could use some work, but her ground game is slick. She's got great submissions. She is coming off a split decision loss to Talia Santos, so we'll see if that messes with her. She is young, but that's going to be a good matchup because it's just stylistic. Grappler versus striker, who can implement whose game plan and get that dub. And then the other matchup we have, former UFC title challengers, Talia Santos, Liz Carmouche. Talia Santos, like I said, she just got a split decision victory over Jenna Bishop. She's looked pretty dominant since coming to PFL. First fight was a first-round finish, and then she gets a victory over tough fighter in Jenna Bishop. Liz Carmouche, this lady, she's the only Bellator champion when they were acquired by PFL that said, "Yeah, I want to be in the tournament. I want to do the PFL tournament, the hardest challenge in MMA." Only champion to do that. She's on a 9-fight winning streak after last night. She was fighting Kara Watanabe, kicking her ass. Close fight, but she was winning. First 2 rounds, third round she was winning. 8 seconds left in the fight. Liz Carmouche, she pulls out an armbar, and it turns out she would have needed that finish to secure her spot in the playoffs. So since she was able to get the armbar with 8 seconds left, 7 points moves her on as the 4 seed. And even as the 4 seed, I still think Carmouche might be the favorite to pull this off. You know, this lady, she's 9-0 in her last 9 fights, Bellator champion, all the experience in the world. She's fought for every belt you can think of. And, you know, these girls, they're tough that she's going in against, but she seems to game plan these tough matchups, these people that are more athletic, bigger, stronger than her, and she just, if it's a striker, she's going to wrestle you. If you're a wrestler, she's going to strike with you and try to put you out. She's really coming into her own at 40 years old, PFL. Who would have thought? But yeah, she's really got no holes in her game right now. She looks great. That's what we have for the PFL, though. That's what's going on. That's everything for the second half of the season. I'll make another episode once it wraps up so we can look ahead towards the playoffs, make some picks, see who's really going to win it all. But, yeah, I can't wait. This is a super exciting concept that they have over in PFL. I wish they could expand it a little more, maybe make it a 16 or 8-person playoff, year and a half long season, but I know the logistics for that got to be a fucking nightmare. But yeah, that's what I have for you today for the PFL Part 2 of their 2024 season. Thank you for tuning in.